kind of plateau or mark with their kids where, and we hear it from our parents as well, like, I don't know what to do with your son, or I'm not sure what to do with your daughter at this age. How do I bond with them? How do I find commonalities?
Like we're always doing something. So for us, it's just nice to snuggle on the couch together or, go back to like making the forts when they were a kid. It doesn't matter how old they are, right? It brings back some of those memories and
to be able to experience. And what I recommend as parents is find out your children's love languages first. What are the things that make them feel loved and important? And then taking those and creating experiences them around them.
So I think the understanding of it's not that you want to hold something over your kids to make them want to come home,
Sure.
but that the door is always open for them to
They're
come
always
home.
welcome. And they always want to, they should want to be there and not feel like they have to. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Skip Wyss, and as always, I have the amazing, wonderful Dr. Fairy Fingers herself, Dr. Julie Wyss, with me today. Hey, Julie, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, we've got a big day of taping today. We've got a lot of podcasts going on from here and our new one coming out for the Green Bay area. So, great day.
I'm excited because, we do a lot over here at Legacy Life Media Studios, but I think the resounding why we do this is because people don't know. Like I just made people don't know a lot of things.
Right.
Or we've been misinformed. And so I think that's with all of the podcasts that we're doing, it's really just us with all of the things that we've found or we've heard just to be able to spread the message.
Yeah. And today's is a really interesting subject. You may or may not got a chance to read what I had wrote down, but I want to talk about bonding with our children. I think that this is something as a society that parents will always hit this kind of plateau or mark with their kids where, and we hear it from our parents as well, like, I don't know what to do with your son, or I'm not sure what to do with your daughter at this age. How do I bond with them? How do I find commonalities? How do I find like-minded things that we can go do and really enjoy each other? How do we create memories? Because let's just really break this down. Money and gifts doesn't really create memories. The memories come from them opening the gifts. They don't come from the money you spent on the gifts. Experiences create more memories. Experiences create more things. I remember the road trip I took with my dad to bring back the fish tank for the office from Las Vegas all the way back to Green Bay. I remember the flight out with him. I remember how panicked he got on the flight. I remember getting him a Coke and some things for him to eat because he was getting feisty. Like, I remember these things with my dad. And what I'm trying to say here is creating these memories with our kids over like-minded interest is really, really key. And I think it starts at a really, really early age. Dr. Julie, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges with parents trying to figure out like-minded interests with their kids?
Well, I think don't think of this as like a once a year thing, like it's a gift or a birthday. It needs to be, and it could be as simple as like cooking dinner together or a game night or like you do a walk every night. But and I think it's going to change as your children change, right? It's going to be a lot easier when, a baby, to put the baby in the stroller or to wear the child, right? And to do that walk. As they age, maybe like they're not interested in that. So maybe it's the bike riding, but maybe it's more of a physical activity. Maybe it's just spending time, right? Sometimes we don't have to always do, like sometimes our kids are like, we're always doing something. So for us, it's just nice to snuggle on the couch together or, go back to like making the forts when they were a kid. It doesn't matter how old they are, right? It brings back some of those memories. And so I think it's just really also being silly. Right. It's making it that it's okay that we don't have to always be serious. Making the 13 or your 18-year-old like come back and build a pillow fort or, a pillow fight. Like it's totally out of the blue. But sometimes those are those things that's going to like startle them. And I think we all just need to be startled to then break that neurology and start a new pattern.
Okay, I see I see where you're going with there. That makes a lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about when they're younger. Because you had mentioned like when they're little, it's easy to put them in a car. It's easy to put them in a car seat and or put them in their stroller and take them on a walk. But what I find with a lot of parents is that they're not used to being boy dads or boy moms if they've had girls. Or if they've had all boys, they're like, I don't know what it's like to raise a girl. And it's creating these, trying to find like minded common interests in children. Like with our son, it's golf. I love to golf. He loves to golf. Peyton likes to golf too a lot when she gets a chance to go. And you have a chance as a parent, you do have a chance as a parent to, I don't want to say mold your children, but actually raise them into things that you really enjoy doing and see if they like doing it as well. Do they like being outside? Do they like sports? Do they like knitting? Do they like doing things with their hands? Do they like baking? These are all things that with your children you're going to be able to experience. And what I recommend as parents is find out your children's love languages first. What are the things that make them feel loved and important? And then taking those and creating experiences them around them. So if your child really, all children really like getting gifts at some point in their life, but as they get older, they may not like getting gifts. They may like spending time with you, quality time. They may like you doing things for them, picking up their room, things like that. But creating these memories based on what they love and what makes them feel good. Do they like to cook? So what I would do is really try to ask your kids as they get a little bit older, right around 8 or 9, we did this with our kids and had them basically fill out a survey as to what helped make them feel loved. Our son was quality time, big one for him, and it was touch, right? Our daughter was quality time, words of affirmation, and gifts. So creating a memory for Peyton actually would involve shopping. Going shopping with her because she's either getting gifts or buying gifts for somebody and creating that time with her. Now, for you, you're like you love shopping, but not as much as our daughter does. Where she'll just go and look at things. She'll just go and look at stuff in the store and just peruse. You're going in on a mission. So, and I like to go peruse things and look at things and then kind of buy things if I have the time. So who's better at creating that experience with Peyton? Would it be me or would it be you?
You.
Yeah. So, but with Brecken, touch, you don't like touch that much, but he likes to snuggle on you. So you allow him to come into your space and take some of your energy, but it makes him feel wonderful and loved. So for parents out there, Dr. Julie, what do you think would be a really good suggestion for them to start figuring out these commonalities for their children? Because I think love languages is a big one. But where would you start?
So depending upon the age, right? It's what is your child? What is the tendency? What do they tend to do in their downtime? And so if it's a pick up a book, maybe you could read a book together. Maybe you could go to the library. If it's they're constantly building something, well, can you build something together? Can you go to a museum together? Can you, figure out a project or something that you could build together?
Yeah. I think that is a big one. Like if they love to build stuff with them. Bring them into the normal routines of your life. Like if Brecken loves tinkering around with engines, I'm going to have him teach him how to change oil on our older car, on our classic car, how to do the filter and the oil plug and all that kind of stuff because he really liked doing it. I might take him to one of our rental properties and teach him easy electricity, like how do we change out a light, not a light bulb, but how do we change out a light or put in a switch, like simple things like that. Peyton, I'm going to sit down with her and probably knit a blanket.
She's in arts and crafts. She enjoys those things. She just likes to be able to unplug, but to also have you available. She's like, so you might notice that your child can go off and do an activity on their own. So those children typically are going to have a different love language than those that just need to always have somebody nearby. So it's kind of that child that can stay home alone versus, well, when are you going to be home, or needing that connection all the time. So those people that need to have that constant connect or to know everything that's going on, it's figuring out, okay, if this is my task list of things that I need to do for the day, then can that child come along and help you with those activities?
Yeah, like going grocery shopping. If they don't slow you down or put things in your cart you don't want, right?
But if it comes down to, okay, I need to find time, that's where you make the time to do those things.
So what happens if we do all of this and let's say we have a child that doesn't want to do something? Are we better off making them come do it, or do we let them go do something else on their own? Because I find there's kind of a fine line with this.
Well, we need to be active participants in a family dynamic, right?
Okay.
And so sometimes we need to listen, or we need to hear, okay, why don't they want to come along? Is it boring to them? Or is it solely that they were working on something else? So how can we re-engage and get that child interested in something? If somebody's just like totally disassociating from the family, then that's like red flag, a trigger of, okay, what was the last thing that we've done together? Are they just totally, don't want to bombard you? Or what is the languaging that you are saying that your children are hearing, or the languaging that you're saying directly to your child?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I never thought of that. Like, how are you presenting it to them? Is it
Because
something
if
that you
you're
actively
maybe
want to do?
always upset, like maybe they just don't want to be, around that energy.
Okay.
Or they don't want to be part of that focus, and they're
Mhm.
disassociating from that. Maybe they just feel like they're a burden to you.
Mhm.
So then it's really just okay, that's make sure that we talk about dating your spouse, but you need to make sure that you're dating your child. And
Yeah.
so going out, and again, it doesn't have to be money things, right? If
Right.
somebody just wants to spend time, then go for a walk, or what type of a hobby can you start? But again, I think it has to start with that trigger of something just off the wall crazy, like, well, mom never lets us go and do that. Then, okay, that's that one thing that you need to then
Yeah.
do to re-engage your child.
That's incredible insight, because I wasn't thinking of that either. It's just like, if you never let your kids do certain tasks, break the mold, surprise them, and have them do it as long as it's safe, as long as nobody's gonna die, and like break that and just see what they think of it. See, and you might actually enjoy it as a parent. Like, let's say you're a parent and you're really not athletic. Let's say you don't like to do sports, because usually in a dynamic of a husband and wife, one likes to go do like sports and outdoor stuff, and the other one may or may not be athletic, so they don't like to go do that. You might surprise yourself that, doing something outside with your son or daughter, or finding one that like really likes to play softball or baseball, like throwing the ball around, throwing things around, creating these memories and getting them exercise is a big thing. But then also understanding that some of your kids do like downtime. Some of them do like reading books. I personally love watching movies. And I've found that both of our children actually really do too. They like watching cinema. They like letting things take over in their mind, and live action versus animated. But like, what do they really, really like to do? I think then how do you bridge that gap as your children get older? And this is where a lot of parents run into this, is that their child's now 16, they're driving, they're a little bit more independent. The parent wants to give their kid more grace to let them out, but they also don't want to lose that child.
So I think that comes as the foundation. So if this hasn't been set up, maybe it's something that's set up now as your child is younger. But like, what does that non-negotiable look for your family? Hey, when kids start to drive and they're in all that different activities, like one of our non-negotiables is we have family dinner together every night. But we understand if there's sports, if there's student council events, sometimes those things like get pushed aside, or we don't have that family dinner together. But there needs to be something in that calendar that it's hey, Friday, we always do this together as a family. I'm sorry, your friends want to do this, but your friends can come, right? Include the friend, but no, Friday every, this Friday night, it's game night. And so that's just something that, sorry, this is just always on the calendar. This is what we always do. And so you have to also, I think, set that expectation and like this is just how it is. Well, I want to do something with my friends. Then bring the friends over, right?
Yeah.
Because then that's going to open up the conversation that way. And I think it just starts to blend into the family. And so if you just make that very clear of, okay, this is what we always do, or maybe if it's not every Friday, if it's at least once a month, that as your kids are older, of the expectation of, nope, this is family dinner, this is Sunday, like we do meal prep and you need to be present to help and do that. I think it's just, I think we forget, and it's, instead of it turning into a chore of this is what you need to do, it's, hey, this is why we do this, because we get to do the check-ins. This is where I get to know, okay, where you are in your life, how can I help you? It's more than just a task of something that we do.
Yeah. So you're actually, I don't want to say this, but you're gathering information on your children while you're doing things
You're
with them.
gathering
Right.
information, but it's the same thing. Like whenever you set a process in, it's like, this isn't why, this is like, we just do this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here is why, because I want to be able to have uninterrupted time with you. This is also my time that I'm not on my computer, or I'm not on my phone. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody kind of has the expectation. But I think when it becomes routine, we forget of why we actually started it.
Right. Right. And I mean, we see that in business too. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to tie business in, but people see that as well. Cause there's a lot of parents out there that are entrepreneurs. Like one of them may own
Mhm.
their own business. And then there's that working in it versus on it type situation. But then bringing it home, how do we carve out time to have time with our kids? Because as they get older, I think one of parents' biggest fears is that they leave the house at 19 and they may never come back, that you may never see them again. Are my kids going to come back? It was really interesting. I had saw a reel on Instagram. It was a billionaire talking about his family, and they had asked him, the question was, now that he was 83, what did he see as real wealth? What was his real wealth? And he's like, it's my kids still wanting to come home. It's my kids still wanting to come home for holidays, wanting to be around us, wanting to be in our house, coming back and staying by us instead of leaving and never coming home again. And I think that is how then that you have created something extremely impactful on your children, but created very strong bonds.
Mhm.
Because I look at my family, I look at how my family's been designed and put together, and there are some areas of strong bonds, and then there's areas of very weak bonds where things were missed. And I'm not harping. I think my parents were incredible people, and my mom and dad did everything they could to give us the best childhood possible. But I also feel that there were times where they weren't able to spend a lot of time with us or create a lot of memories or find those commonalities, those common boundaries. I mean, those common, not boundaries, those common things that we could do together to create more bonds. And it was because they were working all the time. And that's hard, because I look back on that, and we've moved away. We're 3 hours away from my mom and dad. I haven't lived within my folks within 3 hours of my mom and dad since I was 19, all the way through undergrad, all the way through grad school. And now we live here in Green Bay, and I'm 3 hours from our mom. But I don't feel like I'm that far away. But every now and then I have a tendency to think about my mom and think, does she feel that I'm light years away from her?
So I think it's, I mean, the understanding of, it's not that you want to hold something over your kids to make them want to come home,
Sure.
but that the door is always open for them to
They're
come
always
home.
welcome, and they
Mhm.
always they should want to be there and not feel like they have to be there,
Mhm.
but they actually want to come home and see people. And I get excited to go home. I get excited to see my parents and my mom, and I got excited to see my dad when he was alive. And but it's those things, those common traits, that I come home and I got time to go hunting with my dad, or I come home and I have time with my mom. But it's those fears also as a parent on the other side of it, where I want Peyton to have those same feelings and more. I would like her to come home and enjoy being home when she's 19, 20 years old, and want to come back with her kids and her husband, and not feel like she's going to come home and feel ridiculed. And I think that's another thing, as we raise our children, is we run a really fine line of being their parent and trying to raise them and let them and try to keep them from making serious mistakes, but also trying to let them make mistakes and let them be their own person and grow up.
We have 18 years to do that.
Yeah,
So this is
18 and 19.
the window of, okay, can I translate? Can I get all of these things across? And after 18, right, there's still learning to be, there's still knowledge to garner from that. But I think it's as, we hit the teen years and then like through high school years of just changing our languaging and how we are respecting our children as they are aging and giving them that grace, to make mistakes, but then also that forgiveness, but then allowing them to go out on their own, but to know that, hey, mom and dad are still here, that I can ask for that help and that guidance.
Yeah, and that you're always proud of them. Like that's a big thing too, is I know that when I go back and see my mom, I'm rarely going to get ridiculed, and I'm comfortable when I'm there and I feel safe. I can only imagine what it's like to have children come home or to be a parent and be on the other side of it, where whenever I'm home, I feel like I feel like my parents are trying to always fix me, still trying to parent me as an adult. And I think the conversation that I had had with my mom and dad was extremely impactful when I said, hey, you guys are now my friends. You are my parents, but you're my friends now. And I'm going to look to you for different advice. I'm going to talk to you differently. And it's not because I don't respect you. It's because I have you on a different level now. You're always going to be my parents, but you're also going to be my friends. And you don't need to correct me all the time. You don't need to try to raise me anymore. I'm getting along pretty well. But it's those bonds that I've created with my mom and dad that have allowed us to do that. And I want that for every parent out there, to find those commonalities with your children, find those commonalities now, whatever age they are, and then allow them to blossom and also have space for them to be able to change.
And there's trying years in there. I mean, people call them the terrible twos or the trying threes. It's every year is going to be a different segment for you. And I think it's just finding, okay, what is the likeness that we can build that connection, build that bond, and just know that it's probably gonna change in a few months to a year. But I think just having that open communication.
And I think the last point here is that I think it's super important for your children to see you as a parent struggle. It's okay for them to see you under stress. It's okay for them to see you go through, if it's financial difficulty or even marital or relationship difficulties, for them to see it, experience it, and see how you handle it as an adult, and find commonality with your children there too, because your children go through a lot of struggles every day at school, with their friends, the relationships in their life. And if you're able to show them that you're human and you go through the exact same things, maybe just on a little bit different level, I think that creates a really strong common ground for your children as well. Because they want to see how you come through adversity too.
That's super important, because they need to see struggle. They need to see the world as a real thing, and not just, rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, everything's rose-colored glasses, which, let's be honest, it's really not. And life is life. So do you have anything else you want to add this week, Dr. Julie?
That's perfect.
All right, everybody, if you love this episode, click on more episodes. Come hang out with us. Come share this with other parents that want to find commonalities with their children, what it's like to raise a 13 and 16-year-old and healthy kids, and just have them get better and create these commonalities with everyone in their life. Go out there, get it done, everybody. Take care. Have a great day. Bye now.